everybody. It's Marilyn Wilson here from RE Technology with here with one of my favorites, Albert Clark. How you doing today, Albert?
Hey, Marilyn, good. Thank you very much for having me.
So Albert's going to talk to us today. He is from the from HomeActions. It's a company that's been at the game a long time, helping agents find really creative ways, no matter what market conditions we're in, to find ways to engage with consumers and build relationships automatically. So before we jump in, I want to just remind everybody, if you want to ask a question, which we love, ask them whenever you want, because I'll just jump in and really interrupt Albert and ask him to answer your question for us. Just click on that little box that says questions. You see that little gray triangle? That will open it up, and then feel free to ask us anything, and we will do our best to get all of them answered for you before the end of the session. So with that, let's jump in, and we'll go from there. So yeah, I'm going to kind of just let Albert take us through this. As all of us know, anybody that's in sales understands that if you don't stay in touch with your clients and if you don't continue to talk to your clients, they forget about you, right? Everybody's busy these days, very distracted by a lot of things. And importantly, it's really difficult sometimes to know which of your customers you should be reaching out to at what time. So Albert's going to show us some really cool stuff today that helps us understand how to prioritize our work and as salespeople to make sure that we get absolutely the most return on our investment of time. So with that, Albert, take it away. I'll just jump in and ask you questions as they come in. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. So the point we want to get across today is, and I think we all agree on this call, that real estate's a numbers game. The more relationships we can create, the better the allegiance with our sphere of influence. We're going to be nurturing relationships from now going forward. We're going to insulate and isolate your pipeline. The better our numbers are going to be at the end of the day. So there's things that agents have been doing for years, some of them doing it well, some of them not doing it well or productive. So we aim to show you by the end of this interview here how building relationship capital using email marketing and now the new, what do you call it, artificial intelligence. I'm losing my own AI. How the artificial intelligence is going to help you focus on the segment of your database that's warming up. So Marilyn, today's topic, the new service we were talking about, is called Lead Scoring 360. And it allows you some amazing insights into what your clients have been doing with their email address, where they've been visiting, and the behavior they've had going into the past and certainly going into the future. So we'll get into the artificial intelligence section, which is built into HomeActions in a few minutes, but I want to give you just an overview of what HomeActions is. So
okay, can I just jump in for a second with the word AI? Sometimes when any of us that are not technology experts hear those words, we immediately get scared and think there's robots that are going to take over our world. It's going to be Watson all over the place. That's not at all what we're talking about, right? You're going to show us how we don't have to know anything about AI to actually take advantage of this stuff.
Marilyn, right? Up until about 2 months ago, I didn't either until we started building all this stuff out. So I'm a perfect example of, I trust the science. I don't mean that in political terms, but the idea here is that we're going to show you the behavior of your clients, prospects, and friends in the past and certainly in the future. So cool. Lead Scoring 360 is bolted on or embedded into HomeActions email marketing platform, because you have to have a database somewhere if you're going to be doing what they call AI scoring. So HomeActions is a subscription service. We've done several webinars before with RE Technology, and it's a package of must-have services that you need to build. Well, first off, to get and stay top of mind with your clients, prospects, and friends. So it's an e-relationship tool. And about 19 years ago, I built the first ever electronic newsletter for agents, and I've been stuck in that business ever since. And the theme comes back to me time and time again. Why aren't agents doing the best possible job of staying in touch? So that's what we do for them. It's called email marketing. It's called newsletters, good old boring e-newsletters, right? They've been around for 20 years. Well, some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them in between. But the reason I'm showing you this today is that when you add the artificial intelligence to a HomeActions subscription, you're going to be able to get more productivity out of your marketing dollars. That's what we're all about today. So in essence, agents only have to do 3 things, right? They do a million things, but they have to do these 3 well: prospecting, nurturing, and closing. And when I ask agents, why can't you do the best possible job of staying in touch? They come back to me and they say, scratch their head and they go, Al, I have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but I don't have everything. So everything in my book that I've been, actually immersed in the last 19 years, is first off building the agents a database. For everybody that's on this call, I'll bet you know 20 people that don't have a clean, reliable database, and 9 out of 10 don't. They never got around to exporting their iCloud, their MLS contacts, their Gmail, their AOL, top producer. They never got a chance, or no one ever did it for them, put it all together, clean it all up, and build a professional grade database. Well, that's what we do for agents literally on day one. Second thing we do was we put it into a pipeline. We put all those contacts after we clean them into a pipeline, and then we nurture those contacts every 2 weeks with in-demand content, widgets, things that are valuable, relevant, and hyper-local. And then we give you intelligence, excuse me one second, intelligence on what's going on inside of your database. Who's warming up? Who's clicking, downloading, sharing? That's all tracked here. And finally, the last one is protecting. One of our defining features is that email addresses, once put into the system, become exclusive. And when we talk about the artificial intelligence scoring, only you will be able to score your contacts, your clients, prospects, and friends, because they're held exclusive in the HomeActions system. So these are just some of the places where we can go and grab the agent's database, build the agent's database by exporting out of all these systems and any more. And then we simply go back, ask the agent to scrub it one more time. They push a button, it goes into the system, and it becomes exclusive. So here's some numbers, Marilyn, I'm sure that resonate well in the, what you've learned over the years. Only 23% of consumers are probably going to use the same agent for another transaction or referral. That means 77% aren't. And when NAR did this survey, and it's done every year, the figures are quite alarming. Why can't agents do the best possible job? After the deal, after the contract closes, then they're on to the next transaction. They're not worried about the long-term implications of building relationship capital. And we're doing this for them. Now, here's another one. I forget, the survey was done 3 or 4 years ago. Stop the consumer on the street and ask, who's your doctor? Or, can you got the name of your doctor? Quickly come up. Like 95% of the people can come up with their name. The second one was your realtor. Who did you deal with on the last time you bought or sold a house? Only 24% could quickly come up with that agent's name. Again, 76%, struggled. The next one, then they asked you, who changes your oil? You know what that one got? 75% retention. 75% of the people can remember the guy's name that changes their oil, but a chunk of them can't remember their realtor's name. We all know why. Just not doing the best possible job of staying in touch. On this next screen, you'll see an image. This is just the top part of one of our newsletters. You can see how we customize it for whatever the agent wants. And then it goes down, down, and down. There's 7, 8, 9 articles every 2 weeks that we put in. And the agent, we could also publish for the agent. We could put their listings in, their just solds, their open houses. So one thing you won't hear me use today, Marilyn, in my vocabulary is hot leads. We don't talk about hot leads. We don't sell hot leads. We don't develop hot leads. We get into what we call conversation starters, a reason to pick up the phone and talk to someone or fire off an email, having something in common. You know what they just did when they got your newsletter, because all of the newsletter features, all the articles are tracked to send you an alert when somebody engages with them. So it starts out as a newsletter, ends up as a really, really cool conversation starter. And here's how we develop leads or actual.
We just got a question. I got a question for you from the audience. So, do you see the kinds of conversation starters different right now? I mean, I think we started this COVID thing in March, right? All of us did, and I think we all thought, oh, it'll be over by Easter, oh, it'll be over by Memorial Day, oh, it'll be over by the summer, oh, it'll be over by the fall, who knows when it's going to be over? But do you see the kinds of information that people are interested in? Now that we just keep staying in this COVID thing, is it changing the kind of conversations that people need to have or that they are having?
Well, we did see a huge spike in home improvement content and getting more value out of your house, improving the house you have now. And we could tell that because of these articles that we pepper in here every 2 weeks, we know what they're clicking on. Our editors behind us actually have their thumbprint on what's going on inside of home ownership. And today, for the most part, if you're not selling, you're sticking at home, you're renovating, you're adding more value to the home, and then maybe in anticipation of a sell down the road. So yeah, our home improvement content hits have doubled in the last 6 months. I know that.
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
now some of that content is not what we call predictable, Marilyn. On the right-hand side here, you'll see this true false article. This is what we call predictive content. Somebody reads that for a reason. And I would ask agents, wouldn't you want to talk to 20 people who just read that article in your newsletter? Well, yeah, I probably do, because I have some state first-time home buyer programs, whatever it is. You're going to catch somebody at the right time when they're in the right frame of mind, because 20 seconds after they open that email, after they open up that article, you're going to get a text or an email indicating that somebody in your database, you might even know them, is interested in finding down payment money. So those are, some of our predictive articles. The next one, which is one of our most widely clicked articles, is what's sold down the street. Everybody, even during the COVID crisis, is wondering whether their house is more valuable than the one that just sold down the street. So what we do here is we help the agent. If the agent has RPR, Realtors Property Resource, we'll get these reports out of there and we'll put them right on the newsletter. And of course, we'll set up the alerts. So again, we're providing the consumer, the agent's providing the consumer really what they want. And we know they want this stuff because they're clicking it consistently every time. And you'll be able to see that in the metrics. Now, Marilyn, this one here, you had a question before about this one.
Yeah, let's go. And then I have a question about the last one, but let's answer this one. Go ahead.
All right. So the 7 out of 10 or 70% of homeowning families have no idea how much equity they have in their home. They know it's good, but they don't know how much. So what's going to happen? Do you want them to run to Zillow to, get those numbers, find all the home sales around them? No. We want them studying or researching in front of the agent. So by virtue of the fact that they click this article, the agent's going to get a text and an email. But really what the consumer is saying is, help me with all this stuff. I don't have any idea on what other houses around here, the value of them. So help me arrive at this figure, because if I don't know how much money I can get out of this house, I'm not going to talk with a realtor about listing my house because I don't know how much I can put into the next house. Does that make sense, Marilyn?
It sure does. So on the last one, Suzanne just asked, you mentioned RPR, and I think most people know what that is, but let me just take 2 seconds, or you take 2 seconds, explain what it is and that it's free for every agent that's part of NAR.
It comes out of your NAR dues. You pay about, $10 or $12 a year for it, I guess, and you're part of your dues. But I portray it as software that sits on top of your MLS, because most MLS content is pretty ugly, or it's not ready for prime time. What RPR does is sits on top of it, and it pulls all the data that you want out of the MLS, and it does a great job of, sales, appreciation, listing price, great stats. But where I see its most value, it's not being used by the agent, is what's sold down the street, because that's what all the consumers want to know. So the agents most of the time have access to great data like RPR, Realtors Property Resource. In fact, it's at www.narrpr.com. Register in a couple minutes, it probably even pre-registered you, and then start digging into its great stuff. They just don't give you an easy way to share it. So that's why we work with the agent and we get this in their newsletter and we get the notification when it gets open. Marilyn, something happened to your voice there. Something happened to your voice on your question you just asked.
Marilyn, you sound Mickey Mousey.
She sounds like she's on some comedy.
Okay. Can you go to phone audio and then back to your computer audio? See if that fixes the problem.
She doesn't hear that. I'm sorry about this, audience, but we'll fix it in a couple seconds here.
Is that any better?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, good. I don't sound 6 years old anymore. Okay,
no, you're
keep going. Okay, good. Sorry about that. Go for it, Albert.
Okay, and here's 3 examples of what some newsletters could look like, but everything is customized. We work with the agent literally one-on-one days before their newsletter goes out, or the agent can just say, I want to set it and forget it. I mean, we deal with agents that spell computer with a K, right? They don't want to deal with any of this stuff just make me look good every 2 weeks.
Yep.
And that's what we do. So when we bring the content and the articles in, the agent can check on the order. They can add their own, move them left and right, lots of things. There's complete options here, which we can get into detail later on if you got questions. But the idea is to deliver consistently information that they can't get somewhere else that helps them manage what they have now. And then there's an entire social media game plan built in, okay? You'll never run out of good content to post on your social media sites. If you have your Facebook page open, when you're looking at our articles, you click on an article, 7 seconds later, it's on Facebook. All branded, you don't have to worry about code or downloads or anything else.
Awesome.
Okay, so there's an entire social media game plan built in here. In 15 minutes a day, you could take quality content and get it out there on the social networks. And we also work for teams too.
How often should people be posting on their social media channels, do you think? I'm
not a big guru of that because I don't think anybody's sold any houses yet on Facebook. But
right.
The idea is, what is the right? I could see 2 or 3 times a day if it's easy for you. If you have to actually go out and try to, find content, you're wasting half your day.
Right. Okay.
Right? So, because good content's, it's hard to find, it's hard to develop, but once you grab it, you should be able to, we have, I think there's 1,400 articles in our library now on all aspects of home ownership.
And people can use those articles that you said, like, do you know how much equity you have in your home? They could add those kind of articles too, right?
Sure. These are articles that elicit a response, or a call to action, or somebody's got to do something because your clients, prospects, and friends are interested in this, or this.
Awesome.
So
okay, great.
That's the way we write the articles. And as I mentioned, this works fine with teams. There's no extra charge for teams, even though there's much more work involved in building their databases. We love working with them, so they put all their contacts in, one bucket, if you will. And then every 2 weeks, I believe this team out of Howard Hanna in Akron, maybe not Akron, where are they? Macedonia, Ohio. I think they got 7,000 or 8,000 contacts that are getting hit every 2 weeks on this.
Wow, that's great.
So most agents would say, well, Al, how many houses am I going to sell this year because I buy HomeActions? And I typically, give the Zillow response between 0 and 100. I have no idea. I can't guarantee that. I don't guarantee it. What I see is agents doing at least 2 deals because they're using our system. So that means somebody came out of the woodwork you haven't talked to in years, finally came up to you and said, hey, Jim, I forgot you're in real estate. My daughter-in-law's coming to town or something like that, whatever it is, then we can, act as if you want to do a referral. So here's just a step, there's about 10 or 12 reports that you can get after your newsletter launches. And what we want to say on this report is, look at those unique opens down the bottom there at the big red arrow. 1,016 total opens from 615 unique opens. So 615 people opened it at least once. 1,016 total opens. So what happens is half of the readers open the newsletter multiple times. They don't want to read it at 5:30, 6:30 in the morning when we send it on certain days of the week. We know, we've done all of our research. We know how the best time of day to get this email into the inbox. So they don't want to read it at 5:30, 5:45. They'll read it later on this afternoon, tonight, tomorrow, next week. I really don't care when they do it. I just know that we're going to be able to show you that your content is that good that they're opening and saving this in their inbox. Multiple impressions would get in the inbox. Go ahead, Marilyn.
45% of people clicking on something is like double or triple what normally you can expect from email marketing.
Yeah, average email marketing is about 14 or 15%, Marilyn. Good job there.
Yeah, so
we get you to excel that.
Yeah.
And what we're hearing these days, Marilyn, is agents come to us and they say, why isn't everybody opening all this stuff? It's great stuff. And it's like, that's not the nature of email marketing.
Right.
A lot of people don't even know who you are, yet you got their email address somewhere. But if we can create a relationship with an email address you don't even have a first name for, we did our job, right? Because we're nurturing that. You may not even know who some of these people are.
Right.
And your questions are, should we put everybody in? Yeah, because you know what? Some other realtor is going to get that email address eventually. And remember, we have email exclusivity. We don't, your contacts will go in. Once your contacts are put into the system, they're exclusive to you.
Awesome.
Some more reports, what articles did Home Actions put in for me that resonated well for the consumer? 28 views here. Of those 28 views, about 9 are people, on average 40%, that click on that kind of data, are warming up for a transaction. They're doing their own research at their own pace. They haven't called a realtor yet, although you're still in there every 2 weeks, right? That's what it's all about, consistently delivered value, and that's what we give to the agents. Now, this little company in the blue here, Marilyn, you ever heard of these guys? I never heard of them. Marilyn? She got knocked off.
I think that I actually have heard of them, and I think pretty much all of us have heard of them. And now, if you haven't yet heard, you might want to stop for a minute and explain this. Zillow has now become a full-on brokerage. They have declared that they will become members of every MLS across the country, even though right now they have iBuyer business, and this is why they say they're joining in about 30 markets. They have declared they're going to join every single MLS in the country. So if you don't believe they're coming to your market, then you're not paying attention. But explain what you think that means, Albert. What does it mean, Zillow becoming a broker?
For us, this is what we call defection. And studies show that consumers come, when they're looking for a local property, they'll land on the agent's website, but then they'll write down the address and go to Zillow, because Zillow tells them they have everything you need. So the idea here is Zillow doesn't have everything you need, and if they have a lot of it, is it all correct? I don't know. But we want the consumer to start researching in front of the agent, not behind the agent's back on Zillow. So we have all these tools now built into Home Actions that will help your consumers do their research in your ecosphere, so you could track what they're getting and how far they're proceeding with the down the road. So these are the reasons on the right why people go to Zillow. So what we did was we went out and we built this widget. This is a combination of CoreLogic, Atom Data Solutions, and about 3 other companies, Marilyn, of which you know them all. And we built this widget called Neighborhood 360. And what it does is it gives your readers the ability to pull up any of 150 million street addresses.
Wow.
There aren't any more than that, 150 million. And you now have deep data into what's going on at the house and what's going on in the neighborhood around the house. So this is a neighborhood report that gets bounced off of any address that your consumers are interested in. Their home, one of your listings, grandma's house in Kansas City, it doesn't matter. We'll show everybody later on one of these, we'll send everybody one of these really cool, we call them deep data dives, but it's a report that you want to print out and actually put on the table at the open house. Because invariably the questions come, how's the neighborhood? Nice house, but how's the neighborhood? And most agents are trained to say nothing but, hey, it's good. It's a nice neighborhood. That's it.
Right.
So go ahead, Marilyn.
No, that's great. So you're going to give them a lot better answer. I mean, I think a lot of this is, right, there's so many agents out there, let's be honest, right? Agents basically do the same thing. But you've got to demonstrate as you do it better, you know the market better, you're more experienced, and you're going to support them in any way if they're a buyer or a listing or a seller, that you've got better data and a better way to reach the right people that are interested in buying that house. That's the end of the day, right? And that's
what at the end of the day, that you're right about that. That's perfect. And we even know our new reports here with Yelp reviews on restaurants and bars and places to get your toenails done, places to get your tattoos removed, all your animal hospitals, where's the closest Petco? Half the families out there today have pets, right? So you have to be a pet-friendly realtor even though you don't like pets. But over on the right down the bottom there, you can see everything that's going on pet-wise within a 3 or 4 mile radius of any address anywhere in the country. It's a super cool report, and your consumers are going to remember who gave it to them. Again, getting your hair done, your toenails done, whatever. And then most agents, believe it or not, still don't have on their website a link that says, tell me what my house is worth. So if you do, we don't have to put this article in, but if you don't, this is the CoreLogic AVM. This is the most expensive and accurate one that's out there. And as soon as somebody actually fills out this form, then tells us why they want the report, the agent gets a beep, an alert, says Mr. Jones wants to know what his house is worth. Here's the value range we gave him. Here's why he wants the report. Please contact him. So you can't get a better conversation starter than this one. Right? I
know that you said that you're not generating leads, and I agree with you because somebody might be asking this question and they're not ready to sell for the next 2 years. but they're still kind of cool that you can get people, you'll know a lot more about them by this article. So it's not necessarily a lead, like you say, it's more of a conversation, but it's still contact that's much more interesting than just throwing out a newsletter with some recipes in it and hoping for the best.
Right. Recipes and moving day tips. That's the one that gets me all the time. And when you ask an agent, what's the percentage of your client base that's actually on the back of a U-Haul truck today? It's like 0.
Right.
So they love giving chicken pot pie recipes and moving day tips. Now, in summation, remember, we're going to get into the artificial intelligence right now, but what we're all about is knowing what to send, how to send, when to send it, how to do it all, because most agents today, they want to do it all, but it's difficult. Trust me. We built it for scale, obviously. We've got about 5,000 agents on our platform. But the agents that try to do this themselves, it goes from a monthly newsletter to a quarterly one, and then it's my holiday message, and then they just give up on constant contact, right? Because they don't know what good content is. We do, because we drop about 6 million newsletters a month, so we know what gets clicked, shared, everything else.
Yeah,
and we know how to lock in that exclusive value. Go ahead, Marilyn.
Why do we have to become an expert when you're the expert? I mean, agents' job is to sell real estate. It's not to become direct marketing experts. That's your job, right?
Right.
So it's just a lot easier. Let you do it.
Yeah, so that leads us into why we're on this call today, which is positioning yourself in the time of need for families that are going through life changes, okay? And if you look at the 3 images up there right now, those would, the other years and years ago, realtors did nothing but scour the newspaper for obituaries, birth announcements, divorces. Why? Because somebody's going through a life change, and I want to get in there because life changes usually mean buying or selling a home. And that's a great idea, but it just wasn't scalable back then, and certainly not today. So what we have is this lead scoring 360 service built right into HomeActions. That's why you have to be a subscriber to HomeActions first. And in fact, we're going to give you lead scoring for free, but we'll get into that in a couple slides. But what we're all about is taking the email addresses and using artificial intelligence and finding out in the past, when somebody bought a house 6 months before that, what websites were they on? What algorithms were their email addresses found on? What spreadsheets, data, hundreds of social sites? Where has an email address been used, and did it lead somebody to buy or sell a home? And then once we put them in the system, the HomeActions system, we're going to know about the past on that email address, because there's a couple of billion email addresses out there that are already being scoured, if you will, or scraped. What our service does is gives you intelligence on what happened in the past with that email address, and then what's going to happen in the next few months with that email address. Because we're going to heat score, if you will, your client base on email addresses and where they've been used. So it tracks past behavior and it tracks future behavior, and it says, hey, if somebody is 80 and above, what's going to happen is within 3 to 6 months, we're pretty assured that they're going to be transacting. And how do we know that is? It's all behavior. Behavior in the past predicts the future. So what we're all about here is showing you the segment of your database that could be warming up for a transaction right now. Most of them aren't in your database, and we're going to prove that to you. But some of them are. Some of them are within 3 to 6 months away from transacting. So what we're going to do is put all your contacts into 3 buckets. And if your email address is scored 18 to 40, those consumers, and that's about 75% of your database, those consumers aren't buying or selling. They're not hitting MLS websites. They're not buying expensive jewelry. We have a database of people that have a dumpster in their front yard right now. Who bought 2 SUVs in the last month? Who's taking prenatal vitamins? Who's buying expensive jewelry? Okay. When spending patterns change, something happened in that consumer's life, good or bad. And we're going to let the agent analyze that and jump in here where they want. So there's 18 to 40, 41 to 80. These are people that may be, semi-engaged right now on their own pace, not really in a hurry to buy or sell a house, okay? But they have been seen on predictive websites, okay, that talk about real estate, that track behavior, that track spending patterns, okay? So the 81 to 97s, these are the ones that you really want to be in touch with, a little more so than the others. Now remember, everybody in your HomeActions database is getting nurtured every 2 weeks with our newsletter. Certain people need, I'm sorry, Marilyn, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I'm understanding. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So everybody that's above 80 has about a 50%, 50 to 60% assurance factor that in 3 to 6 months, these people are going to be buying or selling a home. So every night, every morning, you can come into your Home Actions dashboard and push a button, and we're going to give you all of last night's scores. Now, some of the scores change a point every 2 or 3 weeks. Some change 15 points. That's when your alarm's going to go off and say, Mrs. Jones went from a 75 to an 84. She crossed the threshold. Once you're into the 80s, these are people that you want to follow up with more frequently, okay? We're going to show you how to actually have a conversation with these types of people. You wouldn't call and say, hey, Bill, I see you bought, 2 SUVs last month. That must mean you have some money. Usually your people buy and sell a house when they do that. You wouldn't say it that way. But we're going to give you those types of themes, right? So you can better handle a conversation with somebody at the top there, 96.3. It only goes up to 97, okay? So 96.3 is somebody that you should be working with right now and probably, ready to pop, ready to sign a contract with an agent, get into some mortgage financing. They're moving pretty fast. So at any given time, about 5 to 6% of your entire database will be in the pink zone here above 80. Sometimes it's 3 or 4, but then what's going to change in a week because somebody is getting into somebody is going through another life change, and what they're doing is they're telling us that artificial intelligence tells us that their behavior indicates that they're doing some research right now. So
we don't know exactly what happened to them. We don't know if they had a baby or got divorced or are planning a move or getting relocated. We just know that something's happening. So like you say, it's the ability to call them and say, hey, how are you doing?
That's just it. Just open the phone call and then they'll spill their beans.
Right. So they'll tell you what's going on. This is doing is telling us something's changing, and it's a good time to call them because something's changing, and you're going to seem like you're really smart that you're like, oh, wow, you just happened to call me at the right time, right?
That's
something
the idea.
New is happening in my life. Right. Got it.
So
we really need to know. Those numbers don't matter to us in terms of like why someone's a 93.5. We just need to know they are a 93.5.
Correct.
Right?
Trust the science, as they say.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
And so again, these scores are, there's other people out there, other organizations that have something similar to this, but they only score like 100 sites and they only do it once a month. We see many times somebody jumping 5 or 6 points in a week, which indicates certainly that something's going on in their life. So that's how we differ from everybody else. And this, of course, is built into the Home Action system. On the left-hand side, you could send emails right off of this form, and you could track the conversations you're having with the consumer right on the form too. You'll see that on the left-hand side. So that is what we call the all-inclusive and exclusive Home Action system. Now, remember, because the email addresses are protected, they're in your database, they're exclusive, no other agent using Home Actions anywhere else can attack your database. So no one else will be able to score your contacts because they can't get them in their system, because they're exclusive in your system. That was one of our defining features. And many agents said, well, why do you care if a consumer gets 5 newsletters from 5 different agents? It's like, that doesn't help anybody. So what we're doing now is we're showing the Home Action system, and we're going to actually give you this scoring thing. The scoring process is an extra fee. Of course, we don't know how many contacts you have yet, so we can't give you that charge or what it would possibly be. But what we want to do is help you get set up with a Home Actions account, okay? And then we're going to take your first 100 contacts that we put in your Home Actions, and we're going to score them every day and come back and give you all that data on your first 100. If you like what you see, you're going to want to subscribe to Lead Scoring 360 and built into Home Actions. So this is how Home Actions works as a subscription model. Normally there's a $99 setup fee, but for viewers of the program today, we're dropping the $99 down to $0. And then normally it's $79 per month. We're asking agents to pay $60 per month, no contract, and that comes up to $720 for the year. But there's a less expensive plan I'm going to show you in a couple seconds. But this is for delivery every 2 weeks. It's the same level of service, whether you subscribe on a monthly plan or on the quarterly plan. This is the quarterly plan. There are no setup fees. 4 quarterly payments of $150. So it would be $150 to get going, and don't forget free scoring. $150 to start the program, and then every 3 months $150 until you want to cancel. So that comes out to $600 for the year versus the $720 here. So the monthly plan. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Marilyn.
So Julie has a question for you. She said, how can I guarantee that our contacts can't be hacked? So I guess let's answer that from 2 perspectives. One is from a security perspective. The other is that somehow another agent in the system can't get my name.
Correct. We built our code to ensure that email addresses can only be entered once in our system.
Okay.
Okay. So if you put in bettyjane@aol.com and I try to do it tonight, it's not going to let me in. Now,
okay. And what about security perspective? How do you make sure that no one can log in and steal people's names out of your system?
Well, everything's password protected, and I don't know who would do that. We could certainly track it because we'll know who was taking the email addresses and where they ended up. But certainly everything is duplicated and triplicated in our backup system. It's pretty secure.
Got it. Okay, good.
And again, the email addresses can only be used once, and that's, you know, what we call a first mover advantage, if you will. I did a Zoom meeting today for an office with 21 agents in it, and about 6 of them signed up, and I bet 5 of them signed up simply because they wanted to get their list in and protected. So tonight we're building a bunch of databases for these agents down in Vero Beach, Florida, and they had, when they woke up this morning, they had no idea that they were going to get engaged. But when I asked them to raise their hand and tell me how many people have a clean database, no one raised their hand. So not only are we building them a database, we're going to nurture it for them exclusively, and no one else can touch that. Because those
just to be clear,
are locked out. Go ahead, Marilyn.
So it's by the email. It doesn't matter if 5 of you from the same brokerage or people from different brokerages, doesn't matter. Exclusive is exclusive. I get that email address in there and no one else can get it anywhere else, right?
Correct. Okay. Bingo. So again, let me explain the pricing plan. There's the monthly plan, which you can cancel this plan any time. The first month will give you your money back. So you'll get your 60 back. So it only costs $60 to get going. And then at the end of the first month, if you want, you could switch to this quarterly plan and save even more money. So with this plan, I'm going to prove to you before you give me a nickel more than $60, we're going to prove to you that it works. And if it doesn't, you'll walk away and you get your money back. If it does, you'll naturally say, hey, I like this, I'm going long term, and I want to save some more money. Then we could turn you right on with the quarterly plan, and you'll save over 120 on the monthly plan. So gotcha. Then your first 100 contacts, let me explain this again. Your first 100 emails, we will score for you for free every night. And then you can come back into your Home Actions control panel and then hit a button and say, let's see who moved today. Now, some of the movements very, very small, okay? But it's changing, which gives you confidence that we're tracking this stuff overnight. So again, when somebody's score may go down because they were researching for a while, then they stopped hitting on all these predictive websites, okay? And then they started up again. Well, their scores are going to go down and go back up. And that gives you assurance that we know what's going on with these consumers that are going through life changes. So
and I love that you do it daily. Daily is like especially right now in COVID. Does everybody agree with me that it feels like our lives change about every 20 minutes during COVID? Like it's like throw it up in the air, start again. Tomorrow it's going to be something completely different. So the fact that you're watching it so closely to me is really valuable, because what I might have looked like in March when I worked in an office and had to live in the city and what I look like now could be completely different. And if you're not doing it all the time, you don't know that, right?
That's true. Again, this is how your dashboard will look inside of the Home Actions control panel, and everything is tracked for you. All the opens, clicks, and shares, every bit of activity inside of Home Actions is right out there for you with at least 12 or 15 reports. So after your newsletter launches, you're going to be, in fact, I will take you under my wing to make sure that this thing really works for you, because after your first newsletter launches, we'll sit down with you and we'll say, click here, do this, download that, and this is where all your engagement is. And then let's go and turn the scoring on. We turn the scoring on, 24 hours, you've got scores on these 100 people. And if you see the value in the free scores that we're giving you, then we think you're going to want to subscribe to the Lead Scoring 360 extra feature. There's a monthly fee on that. But again, I can't give you a monthly fee now because we don't know how many contacts you have. The average agent using our program throughout the country has 489 contacts. So that's almost 1,000 impressions a month with good content and widgets and things they will never see, only coming from you though. So as you can see, exclusivity is big with us around here. It defines us versus everybody else out in the field that just throws out junk just for the sake of getting it out there. So Marilyn, maybe we can open up the questions now.
Yeah, she has another question for you on exclusivity. So she said, I'm not sure still understand how that works. So what if 10 agents know the same person and use their email? Does the first one with the subscription get it in their database? And
Bingo.
then the next 9 don't get it in theirs, even though they know the person?
Correct. And now if the email address, the owner of the email address unsubscribes from the first newsletter, the second agent in line will get it automatically. Okay. So getting back to his question on exclusivity, email address, let's just say agent A joins today, agent B joins an hour later. Whoever gets that list built in and protected first wins. And I don't mean win in that kind of warfare, but my point is first mover advantage is the first mover advantage. Early adopter, you want to call it that? But you want to get your email addresses in because somebody else is going to grab them eventually. And you don't pay per email in our system. So we have top producing agents in Portland with 18, 19,000 email addresses in our system. Push a button every 2 weeks, they're gone out. I mean, the impressions are unbelievable. So again, we don't want consumers getting 2, 3 newsletters from agents, different companies, different time of the day. Now, with us, it's the first agent to enroll that email address that gets held exclusive. And that email address will never be sent another Home Actions newsletter. Now, I can't prevent that email address from receiving some other company's newsletter. Okay, maybe that's where the confusion is. Just Home Actions newsletters and all of our scoring tools, those are the ones that are exclusive.
So Julie has another question. She says, so once subscribed, will you give me guidance on how to call my desired emails from our multiple emails? So if I've got, you know, like you said, most of us have emails and God only knows how many places, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 places, right? Yeah. You'll help make that one list and make sure you're using like the most recent email for that particular person and things like that?
Well, no, we can't verify that that's the most recent, that is the most used email address. Because sometimes when agents go through their database, Mr. Jones will have an email address and Mrs. Jones will have a different email address. Well, hopefully the agent catches both, right? And puts them in some system. We're going to grab both email addresses and see which ones are being used with greater frequency than the other one.
Gotcha.
But we're still going to score both email addresses.
And then once they start sending them out, if some of them are bad email addresses, like undeliverables, then you'll let them too, right?
Right. There's a quite an exhaustive process to build this database for the agents. We put them through all sorts of filters, taking out obviously duplicates, but you know, info at Macy's department store, right? The non-human email addresses, we take those out. We take out the email addresses that are bad because we verify every email address that we bring in our database. We verify it with an outside source to make sure it's a good email address. The bad ones, we show the agents the bad ones, right? Because they think maybe I should go and get a better email address for Mrs. Jones. Well, we're going to tell you Mrs. Jones has been bouncing for the last 5 months. So it's up to you to let it there or go and get a better email address. But we can't find a better email address for Mrs. Jones. We don't work that way.
You have to do that and then input that in. And agents can update their database whenever they want, right? If they
add people constantly 24/7 on your phone, or just send us an email. Hey, Home Actions, I met 4 people at an open house today. Put them in.
Gotcha. And you do it for them.
We always encourage them to get some new contacts in the system, because again, somebody else is going to get that email address pretty soon. We have offices with like Howard Hanna up in Michigan and Birmingham, I believe it is. We got 27,000 email addresses going out the door every 2 weeks on behalf of those agents. We've got individual agents with 16, 17, 18,000 email addresses. They've been collecting email addresses since day one. And they really wanted us to just clean the list up. Yes, they're using the newsletter, but can you imagine going through 19,000 emails and trying to find out which ones are bad? We do that because of our filtering system.
That's awesome. Yeah, so, I got to ask the audience a question. How many of you have some sort of email newsletter or some way that you're trying to reach out regularly today? Just let me know. Just put a Y in there if you have. Because one of the things that strikes me, Albert, and many people might be using like a Constant Contact or a MailChimp or some of the more like standard systems.
Right.
And if you do, you know that there is a limit to the amount of emails you can send per month within a package. If
Right.
you get up to sending 20,000 emails every 2 weeks, or basically 40,000 emails, that costs you a lot of money in those systems. Sometimes they won't even let you do it. But if
Right.
it does, it could be hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to do that. Well, probably definitely thousands of dollars to do that per year. Some of them won't even let you
come up with the content, Marilyn.
Right, but just sending that many emails is super valuable, especially for the price of basically $50 a month is what we're talking about. And then, like you say, having the contact on top of it, and then this new thing, which I think is awesome, because as a salesperson, I wake up in the morning sometimes and I'm like, who am I going to call today? I don't know. I have 1,000 people in my database. Some people, like you say, have 18,000 people in their database. How are they going to figure out who to call? You make it so much easier. It's like, all right, call these 10 people. These 10 people are going to be the best use of your time today. Who doesn't want that? We all want that as salespeople, right?
Right.
It's really important. And it's like, how do you circle through 18,000 people? There's no way you could be on the phone 24 hours a day, every day of the year, and never reach all those people. But you don't have to with this. You only find the ones that actually matter and that are interested in something.
That's it, Marilyn. You hit it on the nail, or on the head.
That's really exciting.
Okay, I got one question here sent to me. What is your unsubscribe rate? And I assume that's what you're asking here is how many people out of 100 would say, I don't want this newsletter. I don't know who this agent is.
Right.
Our scores are about 4.9% of the average database will unsubscribe. They don't like the agent. They don't know the agent. How'd you get my email address? Those conspiracy theorists out there, right? And they'll just cancel. I've seen, between 5 and 6%, I'll say, eventually for the entire year, because we're going to go through this database many, many times. The average consumer unsubscribes from a real estate newsletter, chicken pot pie recipes and moving day tips, about 14% of the time, because it's not relevant to them.
Right.
So they're learning how to go right down the bottom and hit unsubscribe.
That's significantly less. So that's along the same lines, a little bit different question just came in from Marianne. So I don't think any of us that do sales and marketing, like everyone on the call, would ever disagree that it makes sense to talk to people regularly. Like we all know we're supposed to do that, right? That's not news. But have you gotten any sense of like, how long do I have to sort of keep being consistent before things really start to come back in the positive way, right? So is it 1 month? Is it 2 months? Is it 2 years? Is it all over the map? Like, kind of what's best practices for that?
Right. Well, again, I think that gets back to the question somebody would ask: how many houses am I going to sell? What's my ROI? And our figuring ROIs comes from about 12 different angles, and I don't want to go to them all now, but it's certainly getting your name and your persona out there more than once a month. You're familiar with Gary Keller's 33 touch program, right? You got to do 33 things a year to build that top of mind awareness. We deliver 26 newsletters every year and hundreds of other impressions because the consumer keeps the email address in their inbox. So return on investment comes from greater credibility on your social media sites, okay? Building that top of mind awareness so somebody could say, my realtor is, when somebody asks them, okay? And then third, the conversation starters that we're creating, because we're going to be sending you all these signals. The fourth would be our referral program, where the consumer at the end of every article, they get to vote on the article. Tell us how much you like the article. Was it helpful? And the fourth question is, do you know somebody thinking about buying or selling a home?
Oh, awesome.
So when those come back to the agent, that's got ROI value. Can you put a price tag on it? I don't know, but year over year, these agents keep renewing our program. Why? It must be working, right?
Exactly.
Because if the consumers don't hear from you, they're going to hear from somebody else, right? So the return on investment is there. I've placed my whole professional career on the line here when I say this is the best program for building relationship capital. It's not the greatest in the world social tool, AKA Facebook, but this is what helps agents get back to the basics. Staying in front of their client base, waiting for them to pop, and at the same time delivering this value, if you will, on a regular basis, where if you tried to do this yourself, I don't think you could. So, I don't do heart surgery, on myself, right? I go to the pros. So you mentioned it before, this takes all the guesswork out of the game. If you don't like what we're doing for you, you can cancel and we'll give you your money back in the first 2 launches of your newsletter.
Perfect.
And then that's, it doesn't get any better than that. You don't have to give us a nickel more unless we prove to you that this thing works. And if you can't get a decent conversation out of 7 or 8 people when we do your scoring, I can't help you. Just cancel and walk away. But we're going to give you scripts in essence as to what you should say and how you should say it to these people in the 81 to 97s.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So what kind of training do you do to help people once they get sort of a hot one, if you will, or a warm one? What do you do to help people understand how to respond to them? I mean, you're not a sales trainer per se, but
right.
What support do you provide to agents when they get?
Well, we have an onboarding process for the agents that subscribe to Home Actions, and then you get a special onboard if you're subscribing to the lead scoring. Okay, so we have to show you how we're going to take your 100 contacts or your 500 or your 5,000 if you want to come in at that level, and then what to expect in the first day or 2. Your numbers are warming up, if you will, because we have to go back in time, and actually research billions of email addresses that are out there. So within 24 to 46 or 48 hours, your scores are authentic, and then they start changing every day. So we're going to show you how to go into your Home Actions control panel every day and see what's new, who's going through life changes. So a special onboarding just for, and then you could call our customer service facilities. We're open 7 days a week, 9 to 2 on weekends. But it's pretty easy to understand. If somebody's more than 80, there's the propensity of them to transact because we've tracked their behavior. Okay, so shouldn't be hard to do. Some agents forget they have this. So we're going to be sending daily reminders. If you're paying for the lead scoring system, we're going to be able to notify you of massive changes or small ones or any changes. Or you may say, turn these alerts off. I'll come in here every couple of weeks and see what's brewing. And you can do that.
I love that you remind me, though, because we all have a bunch of stuff that we're supposed to do, and a lot of times we forget. So if you do that, and just to be clear, we don't mean over 80 years old. We mean a score of over 80, right?
Yeah.
When you say over 80, not over 80 years old. Some could be, but that's not the point. The point is there's something that the artificial intelligence is telling us. These people are people you need to talk to because something exciting is happening with them right now.
Right, Marilyn. And our next rollout edition, or what do you want to call it, this is when we're able to send the consumer specific content knowing how they're scoring. Okay. So if somebody's a 95, they're probably not, right now looking for other houses. They probably have their eye on one particular house or particular neighborhood. So we're going to be able to deliver content in the newsletter based on how they score, okay, which has never been done before that I know of,
That's
to
awesome.
be able to pinpoint content directly at the target.
So if they're a 95, is it going to, but the system knows why they're a 95, it's going to customize the content to talk to whatever that issue is. Am I understanding?
Not whatever that issue is, the fact that they are a 95.
Okay.
Which means they're getting close to, calling that realtor. They may have already contacted a realtor, I don't know. But their behavior indicates that within 3 to 6 months, they're going to be doing something. You're just catching them at the high end or the late stage.
Okay,
when we score these people, somebody may have purchased a house 2 months ago. And the agent says, well, wait a minute, you told me they were going to buy a house in 3 to 6 months. I'm telling you their past behavior was being tracked, and we know what they were doing with those email addresses before they bought the house. Going forward from the day that we build or put your contacts in the lead score system, then going out prospectively, we're going to be tracking this, okay? So they might be years from buying another house now, but does it matter? Because you're still going to be reaching them every 2 weeks with your Home Actions. So again, this is not 100% foolproof. Everybody that we score 90 and above or 80 and above, they're not buying a house today.
Right.
But you're going to see their scores change and you're going to see them go up the scale, and then finally it's going to happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen. This is not, again, this is intelligence. It's not 100% foolproof.
So I got 2 questions for you that came in, Albert. Julie said, so content-specific news is amazing. Love that. Can the newsletters be previewed by us or customized by us?
Yes, both. Every 2 weeks before the newsletter goes out, you'll get an email and it says, hey, Julie, in 4 days, your newsletter's going out. Click and see what your newsletter looks like now. So you'll see all of our content ready to roll. And she may say, oh, I don't want that article. Well, then you take it out. Okay. And the image at the top, the colors, the fonts, there's lots of customization that the agent and us we talk about when we build this. Gotcha. But right now, agents are coming in now and putting Happy Halloween banners up and mastheads and things like that. So yes, you have ability to score. You own the first 5 articles in every edition of the newsletter. Then our 7 or 8, 9 come in. If you don't use your 5, ours moves up. If you have 1 article, a new listing, a just sold, an open house, testimonials, we'll build that content for you and you'll use one of your 5 spots. So yes, it's completely customizable, colors, look and feel, images, when we send it, okay, what day of the week, what time. You have all sorts of controls here. I can go into that stuff for an hour, but it's not worth it now. But the idea is that, yes, you have complete say over what goes out and whom it goes out to.
Perfect. Right? So Marianne has, this will be, I think, our last question. I think this is a really important one for everyone in real estate today. We all know that there is not enough inventory out there, right? Pretty much every agent I've talked to, and no matter what market they're in, is saying, days on market is too slow. It's just, it's too low. We don't have enough. So what is it that an agent how can they use HomeActions to help get more, more at-bats for listing presentations and ultimately more listings?
You can't beat this one that's in front of you right now, Marilyn. 7 out of 10 people need help figuring out how much equity they have in their home. We all know it's your mortgage value, the value of the house, subtract your mortgage value, and there's your equity, but they don't know what their house is worth. So we're trying to get these agents up to home plate to hit the home run. And the way you get up the home plate is seeing who just opened this article 30 seconds ago, right? And then you wouldn't call and say, hey, Jim, I understand you need to know your equity levels. You opened my newsletter 38 seconds ago, but you could, right? You wouldn't, but you could. So what we're getting at is these predictive articles that we put in for the agent. Like, is this your situation? Do you need help finding down payment money? Well, if somebody clicks on an article, is this your, and we title it specifically for that, is this your situation? So opening up that article probably says, yeah, this is my situation I'm in. I need help finding down payment money or whatever, or mold abatement in my house, whatever it is. These articles, when opened and clicked, send the signal to the agent that there's engagement here, that engagement has value, because it's short-lived. People, read these things and maybe they throw the newsletter away. If you call them a week later, they may not remember what they wrote or read. Right. But if you called them in the next hour or fired off an email, hey, Jim, see you got my newsletter, need any help? Just start the conversation that way.
Gotcha.
So again, go ahead.
And there are articles too that'll say that more, I think you showed us one, like what's my home worth and things like that, more like what could lead to a CMA that you could prepare, or again, using our PR to talk about ways of how much your house is worth. All of that stuff is included.
Right, the large brokerages already have those tools for the agents. They just aren't using them because nobody's asking them to use them. Well, by virtue of the fact that you click this article, you're saying to the agent, hey, would you help me please figure out how much equity I have? Is it a good time for me to sell my house? What's the days on market going to be? Okay. And for those agents that have buy side, Marilyn, we've talked about buy side before. It's a great service. And what it does is it allows the agent to say to a potential lister, I already have people that want to buy a house like yours, your number of bedrooms in your part of town for your cash. Okay. So, but again, if you have buy side and your consumers don't know you have it, it's not going to work. So we put an article specifically in the newsletter that says, I have buy side. Here's why I sell houses faster. So any kind of tools you have, trust me, we can look at them and we'll burn articles right in the newsletter for you, and we'll get greater adoption. Because if the average agent has nearly 500 contacts here, do you think they're getting 500 hits on their website? I don't even want to go into how dismal the website hit rate is right now these days, okay? It's near 0.001 for most agents. Okay. And when I'm in a crowd talking to agents like we used to do, Marilyn, a year ago, First question would be, how many hits on your website last night? Nobody put their hands up because they know it's 0. So just because you have a nice looking website doesn't mean you're going to score points going to the bank every day with a commission check. Email is another way to bring people back to your website, okay? You'll notice under all these agents' pictures, there's 3 or 4 or 5, 6 links. We can drive traffic back to your website, back to your About Me page, back to your IDX search page, okay? We're very good. We love taking people from your newsletter right to your specific pages on your website. Why? Because they want content you already have. You just can't get them on your website. But 500 people are going to get your newsletter.
Gotcha.
Right?
All right, we're at the top of the hour. Can you put your contact information on the screen, Albert? Because there's a few people that are. Yeah, let's go back to that screen because there's a lot of people that are wanting to know more. And
yep,
so
there we are.
Gotcha. So here's how to learn more about this. I know, Julie, it sounds like you have tons of questions. I would highly recommend you give Albert a call.
Yeah, Julie, I'm good for the next 3 or 4 hours. You can give me a call.
Yeah, feel free to call him. But it's A. Clark at HomeActions with an S.net, and then phone number is 570-510-3507. And Albert, as you can tell, is very excited about this, and he knows how agents can really get the most out of that, what is a pretty affordable product compared to some of the other things out there. And if you're using lead gen type things, you can be spending thousands and not getting a whole lot out of it. This is a much more effective and, remember, automated way. So you don't have to reach out every 2 weeks because that's what we all forget to do, right? This thing's doing the work for you. So it's awesome. But again, A. Clark at HomeActions.net. So thanks, Albert. This was awesome.
All right, Marilyn, thank you for setting this up.
Yeah, and I love that you're, giving us like real world affordable ways for us to stay in the game, especially during COVID.
Marilyn, it comes down to all agents spend money. We just want you to spend it more wisely and more focused, because if you're not hanging around people that are going to put money in your pocket shortly, you're not going to get any money in your pocket.
Makes sense.
So that's what we're all about. Okay, well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Everybody go happy selling. I hope you have a great fourth quarter.
Bye-bye.
Bye.